Western genre has produced some of the most groundbreaking genre-bending comedies of all time. So in this video, let's take a look at 10 of the best Western comedy movies ever made. So at number 10, we have The Three Amigos, a 1986 Western comedy starring Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, and Martin Short. And in the film, the trio play three out-of-work silent film stars, who are mistakenly hired by a small Mexican village to fight off a gang of bandits, believing them to be real heroes similar to the Magnificent Seven. And although it wasn't all that big of a hit when it first released, The Three Amigos has since become a cult classic, winning over fans with its charming absurdity and countless quotable lines. So this results in a great mix of slapstick humor and fish-out-of-water scenarios, with the three leads all putting in typically hilarious performances. So while the movie might not be for everyone, its over-the-top action and quick-fire gags make it a Western comedy well worth a watch. At number 9, we have Maverick, a 1994 Western comedy starring Jodie Foster and Mel Gibson. Now, the movie is actually based on the popular 1950s TV show of the same name, and follows Brett Maverick, a charming gambler who needs to raise money to enter a high-stakes poker game. And along the way, he encounters a whole host of colourful characters, leading to multiple comic mishaps and a run-in with a charming female con artist. So both Gibson and Foster really embrace their roles, elevating an already witty script with their electric chemistry, in a film that offers lots of action and more than a few nods to the original series. So if you're looking for a sharply written, fast-paced Western comedy, Maverick is a real hidden gem worth rediscovering. At number 8, we have Rango, a 2011 Western comedy starring Johnny Depp. Now, although the movie is animated, don't be fooled into believing that it's intended solely for a younger audience, because the truth is that the movie is as much a parody of the Western genre as it is a homage to it, following a pet lizard with delusions of grandeur who finds himself mistaken for a legendary gunslinger. This pushes him into the unlikely role of sheriff, as he attempts to solve the town's water crisis while confronting numerous memorable foes. And all the while, the film effortlessly captures the essence of classic westerns with stunning artistry and detail, which has since cemented Rango as an animated masterpiece, as well as a heartfelt tribute to the genre that it's lampooning. Up next, we have Back to the Future Part 3, which acted as the concluding chapter of the larger trilogy. So having travelled to the past in the first film and the future in the second, it might have initially seemed like a pretty left-field choice for the third movie to be set in the Old West. However, the decision really paid off creatively, because by transporting 80s teenager Marty McFly back to 1885, it created endless opportunities for hilarious fish-out-of-water moments and clever riffs off recognisable Western tropes and movies. So although it's not considered the strongest movie of the trilogy, Back to the Future 3 is a fun, action-filled Western romp from start to finish, serving as the perfect conclusion to the larger story. At number 6, we have The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, a 2018 anthology film directed by the Coen brothers. So the movie is actually split into 6 distinct vignettes across the Old West, featuring completely different storylines and characters. However, each tale is probably best described as a dark comedy, brought to life through witty dialogue, absurd scenarios, and larger-than-life characters, be it a seemingly unkillable singing cowboy or an ill-fated limbless performer. So it's really impressive how The Ballad of Buster Scruggs manages to perfectly balance out its darker themes with morbid humour, and is without question one of the best Western comedies to release in recent years. Up next, we have City Slickers, a 1991 comedy written by and starring Billy Crystal. And in the movie, he plays a middle-aged man tired of his boring 9-to-5, who decides to head out west with his friends to try their hands at being cowboys on a real-life cattle drive, supervised by their no-nonsense trail boss Curly, played by Jack Palance. So although not a traditional Western, it perfectly uses the genre's setting and tropes to explore themes of friendship and self-discovery, with a surprising amount of sincerity and heart. The movie is also full of standout performances, with Billy Crystal in particular really injecting the film with a heavy dose of charisma and laugh-out-loud moments. So all of this combined makes City Slickers a great family-friendly Western comedy that has aged surprisingly well. At number 4, we have Support Your Local Sheriff, a 1969 Western comedy starring James Garner, who plays a laid-back drifter who reluctantly becomes the sheriff of a lawless and often clueless Wild West town. So his logical, grounded approach to law enforcement comes as a big culture shock to the unruly locals, leading to plenty of laughs as he effortlessly outwits criminals and corrupt officials alike. But a big reason why Support Your Local Sheriff works so well is the central performance from Garner, whose dry, deadpan delivery is a perfect fit for the character, which itself is a clever comedic twist on the stereotypical Western hero. In fact, the whole film feels like an exercise in poking fun at just about every Western trope you can think of, resulting in a timeless parody that still resonates now, over 50 years on from its initial release. At number 3, we have My Name Is Nobody, a 1973 spaghetti western comedy starring Henry Fonda and Terence Hill. And in the movie, he plays a quirky gunslinger named Nobody, who idolizes a legendary sharpshooter that he believes deserves one last glorious showdown against an outlaw gang before he retires. So it's not exactly your typical western tale, but you wouldn't expect anything less from Sergio Leone, who originally devised the story and even helped direct some of its scenes. So unsurprisingly, My Name Is Nobody features a lot of the style and swagger that you would expect from one of his spaghetti westerns. But for the most part, it's just one big parody of the genre, with lots of slapstick comedy and over-the-top action, made all the more memorable by the great on-screen dynamic between Hill and Fonda, that at times has echoes of Blondie and Tuco. So if you are a fan of spaghetti westerns, this comedy is a must-watch. Up next, we have Cat Ballou, a 1965 western comedy starring the likes of Lee Marvin and Jane Fonda. Now, the film centers around the titular Cat Ballou, an aspiring schoolteacher turned outlaw who's seeking revenge for the murder of her father. And along the way, she hires a group of misfits to help her, including a washed-up gunslinger portrayed by Lee Marvin, who also played the villain, winning him an Oscar in the process. But in fairness, there are a lot of great performances throughout the movie, which offers a mix of slapstick comedy and traditional Western action, as well as a lot of goofiness and unconventional quirks, such as its singing narrators. As such, Cat Ballou still manages to feel fresh and original even now, and was one of the first major Western comedies to achieve both critical and commercial success. So last but not least, we have Blazing Saddles, the 1974 Mel Brooks classic that redefined the Western comedy genre. Starring Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little, the film follows a black sheriff who accidentally winds up being posted to a remote frontier town, who are not exactly pleased by his appointment. But truthfully, the story mostly takes a back seat to its characters and endless gags, as Blazing Saddles is pure satire, knowingly poking fun at the Western genre with lots of social commentary that's just as biting today as it was when it was first released. It also proved to be pretty pioneering in terms of comedy, due to its frequent breaking of the fourth wall and complete disregard for narrative conventions. So when you put all that together, it's no surprise that Blazing Saddles has left such a big impression, because it's easily the most influential and memorable Western comedy ever made. But if you disagree, let me know below what your top pick would be, or if there are any other Western comedies that you feel deserve a shout out. And while you're here, you might also want to check out this video right here.